And as we look outside, Eric, you know, it's a scene that we see so many times. Such a beautiful place that we work. We are in one of the greatest locations in the city of Seattle. Right now, you're looking in the background there of the wreckage is the EMP, the Experience Music Project, right next to the Space Needle. I look at those grounds and wander those grounds all the time. It's such a beautiful place with such one ugly scene adjacent to it right now, one that has stunned us here at KOMO, I think has stunned the community. Anytime we see an airborne vehicle crash, it's a horrible sight to see. And we have the loss of life, the loss of a couple of our co-workers here today. Again, we have not publicly identified them yet. We want to make sure that all family members are notified. That is a very difficult situation. As soon as we can, we'll get those names out to you. And right now, any friends and family of theirs who might be watching, trying to get some updated information on television, our thoughts and prayers are with you today. We love these guys, and we're certainly thinking about them and their families away from the KOMO family right now. As you see the scene, 7:40 this morning, the Air 4 went down and just burst into flames, and 3 vehicles on the street were involved as well.
I think we're both anxious for the time to come when we can talk about these 2 people, because amazing people and amazing parts of our family who came to work every day and you know, and in one case got into that helicopter and flew around and give us a vantage point to show all of Seattle, you know, various things that are happening in our community. They're our eyes up in the sky.
And what a great news gathering vehicle a helicopter is. I mean, we are blessed, along with several television stations in this country, to still be flying a helicopter, because it can get to so many places so quickly that a car or another vehicle can't. Air 4 and this pilot and this photographer have brought so many important stories to us and have really provided some great service.
They certainly have. We're told now that the NTSB is on the ground having a press conference right now. Let's see if we can go to that live.
We're going to document the site of the accident. We're going to get the aircraft recovered this morning by about 1 o'clock. So 1 o'clock, you can plan on about 1 o'clock for a press conference. Okay?
Could you spell your full name for us, sir?
Little Thomas.
Okay, thank you.
Little L-I-T-T-L-A.
Right.
A bit of a brief press conference to tell us that they're going to have a press conference in 3 hours. Certainly one that we will be looking forward to. It's very early in the investigation. We've covered sad situations like this before involving aircraft that have gone down. The National Transportation Safety Board, the FAA, will get involved. The manufacturer of that helicopter will eventually get involved. They probably will not be giving us detailed information about what they think happened, but they certainly can describe the scenario under which this accident happened today. We might find out what they think the cause was, but it probably won't get very specific on that today. We can tell you from what we've heard as we look at Denise Whitaker, and we'll check with her in a few minutes here, that the helicopter had been out this morning, had covered a water main break that was threatening a shopping area down in Covington. I was watching that coverage before I left my house this morning, and honestly had the thought, you know, how nice it was that we were able to have Air 4 up to be able to cover that early in the morning, before 7 a.m. The helicopter had come back to KOMO from that news coverage and was leaving the building again when it just left our helipad up above our 6th floor, spiraled one time, and then went nose down into the street, crashed on top of, or at least involving, 3 cars on the street. This was the horrible scene that so many of our co-workers here at KOMO, who were working on morning radio and our morning television newscasts, heard the noise, ran to the windows, and were just stunned and in shock, as we still are here at Fisher Plaza today.
The NTSB is on the scene. You heard the representative say that there's a 1 o'clock press conference. The FAA is on its way here. They will be appearing later on. Mayor Ed Murray on the scene. The fire chief is on the scene as well. Conferences, meetings, talks going on at the scene right there. I'm told that it's going to be possibly a long time before we have any definitive reason. And it goes, you know, it goes to say, I mean, there's going to be a lot of investigation. They're going to have to try and piece this thing together, try to figure out if there was any kind of mechanical problems. But I'm told that it could be weeks, even months before we find out definitively what exactly went wrong. We're going to go live now to Kelly Koopmans, who is down at the scene across the street from the Space Needle. Kelly, how's it looking right now?
Well, you know, when we just heard from the NTSB very, very briefly right there, not much information, but it is probably one of the first times we're getting somewhat of a timeline of what we can expect, at least locally here and with the scene on the streets. Again, investigators here, this is going to be a very long investigation. As you take a look onto the street, one thing we noticed when we were inside, one of the first things that I heard, other than the rumble of what sounded to be like construction equipment, was we could hear branches snapping, and then we could hear those car horns honking. Those were the sounds, I think, that stand out to me. Not something you expect to see when you're looking out just maybe 75 yards from where you're sitting at your desk doing your day-to-day job. This is a very difficult and obviously a complex situation, and seeing that the NTSB and FAA both have to deal with here, you have a lot of people involved and a lot of structures involved trying to answer some of these questions for which we don't have any answers right now. One thing that I can say, and this is more on a personal level, I think, but throughout social media, on Twitter and on Facebook, so many people in the community just reaching out, seeing if we're okay, giving those condolences here. This is a small family here at KOMO News, and so many people affected, obviously those who were in the vehicles, their families as well. But as you're taking a look right now, we're learning that 1 o'clock deadline is when they're starting to hope to kind of clear some of this scene. But that's when you start to try to answer some of those questions. What exactly happened? I spoke with a gentleman who was out here this morning. He was parked at the corner of John and Broad. He was a couple of cars that were behind him. He saw the chopper come down from what it looked like nearly on top of him. He sped through the light, and at that point there were a couple of cars that were behind him that also sped through as well. He said that was just far too close for comfort. He parked over here on the side. So many people trying to rush to figure out what exactly happened. When we came down here, one of the things that first stood out to me before the fire crews, before the police got here, was the sound of explosions, smaller explosions happening maybe for the first 20 minutes that the scene was first unfolding. You heard the fire chief, you heard the Kyle Moore talking about how there was a stream of fire that was actually going down. And as you take a look here, where you see the vehicles, that line of fire, that burning fuel stretched all the way down to 5th Avenue, and they were actually able to stop it right there before it went into a storm drain. So that's at least one good thing, eliminating some of the environmental impacts here. And although it can be a terrifying sight to see burning fuel streaming down the street, let alone with a massive explosion happening as well, it can be very difficult to see. But they say it's actually a good thing that fuel was burning to help get some of that cleanup here. So we're going to be out here, of course, all day waiting for when we can finally start to get just a couple of answers of what exactly happened. But definitely a day that so many people say they were just too close. They won't forget. They will not forget today.
Kelly Koopmans, thank you so much. It's a day that we will remember for a long, long time to come, and what a horrible loss that we have suffered here at KOMO Television, all of us who work here at Fisher Plaza. We might be able to get a hint of some answers, at least about what's happening down on the scene. And also, we certainly appreciate the two gentlemen who are joining us right now who have come up to share their condolences and give their best wishes to us from the Seattle Fire Department.
Fire Chief Gregory Dean, Police Chief Harry Bailey, and let's start with you, Gregory.